Big news hit the LCS this week as Doublelift is back and about to hit the stage with Team Liquid. Week 7 of the North American LCS starts right now.
I felt like I let my team down.
Team Solo Mid, their hopes, their dreams, they're done!
I felt like maybe I should try something new and get some perspective. And if I really want to do that other thing, like streaming, maybe I'll just stick with it. LCS had just started, and then I was watching it. I'm like, this feels weird. It feels like I belong there. Like, it just feels weird to watch LCS, and I'm not a part of LCS. Liquid's a 10th place team, so I got nothing to lose. Individually, I think I'm definitely a contender for the best, or I'm already the best.
Doublelift gets the GA. Doublelift goal. Kills everybody. They've got 3. Impact goes down. An ace for TSM. Monster fighting a minion, almost goes down. Doublelift breaks up the pentakill.
I think it just gives hope. Like, whenever you have a new face, a new player, it just gives hope to the team. It also gives hope to, like, the people watching. And I think that means a lot.
My ultimate goal, of course, is to help the team reach playoffs. I do think I can make a difference.
Welcome, everyone. We're coming to you live from our LCS studios here in Los Angeles, California, where we've got a hyped-up crowd for some Friday night action. Doublelift making his return to the North American LCS stage here. We've got Cloud9, though, Sneaky and Jensen making their way into the studios today. And, of course, Team Liquid in the ready room with Doublelift. We'll see how he does as he is entering with confidence. As we heard in that video just there, we'll see what he can do to help Team Liquid save their season. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, returning to the LCS as host once again. On my left here, Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kensler, helping me break down all of the games today. But here's the thing, Kobe. Let's orient ourselves with the standings before we get into any of it and prepare for the week. First place, Cloud9, distancing themselves from the rest of the pack, along with TSM, who are in second place. FlyQuest holds third, just above Phoenix 1 in fourth. Then from fifth place on, we have teams just one win apart, finishing with Team Liquid in 10th place. We'll see who can leapfrog through the standings, starting with our games today. First, we welcome back an NALCS veteran in Team Liquid versus Cloud9. After that, there's a battle for third place as FlyQuest takes on Phoenix 1. Now, the news coming out of this week proves one thing. I can't leave you guys alone with all hell breaking loose here, Kobe. This last week has been absolutely nuts. Help me break it down, absorb all the info.
I mean, welcome to the Freaky Friday North American LCS version. Everybody's switching teams. Obviously, there was something that, spurred a lot of this last moment stuff. Team Liquid are in 10th place, and the roster lock for the players that you can use, in playoffs for spring was last Tuesday. And they did not want to get relegated, it looked like. So they went out, bought Doublelift, got Adrian as well, and then Stunt moved from Dignitas to fill in Adrian's spot on P1. So a bunch of roster moves all wrapped up.
A couple big ones there. And with the bottom half of the league only separated by a few games, these moves have the potential to make some pretty big waves. Liquid only 2 wins out of 7th place.
Exactly. I mean, even though we're like, they're in 10th place, they don't want to get relegated, 10th place is pretty close to 7th place in the North American LCS right now as far as that game score does go. And Piglet, as much as everyone was like, oh my God, you're moving your AD carry to mid lane, it actually, as far as, just switching roles, it was a pretty good showing for him. Now they're bringing in Doublelift, which is another risky call, as he's been streaming a lot recently. But I think that all these changes bode well for Team Liquid and at least getting them out of that relegation spot that they don't want to be in. And then maybe, as Doublelift was alluding to, if they shoot for the moon, they might be able to go to playoffs.
I mean, adding a high-profile name here to the roster, but of course, it's all in such a short period of time, so there's going to be a lot of questions around the preparation they're able to do, what kind of teamwork and synergy they're going to have. That's all going to be for us to figure out. Now, with this, Adrian is also jumping teams over to Team Liquid here from Phoenix 1, which is going to free up a support spot on Phoenix 1, being awarded to Stunt, now on a starting roster.
Exactly. I mean, everyone's eyes are on Team Liquid because they started all this crazy roster stuff, but, with Adrian leaving, that re-evokes some of the conversation around, what were the internal problems with Inori and Adrian, and maybe there's something there. Turns out You know, Adrian, now off the team, is making room for Stunt, who had a lot of hype on Team Dignitas, and is going to come in. So maybe that helps out with the internal stuff with Phoenix One. It's mostly speculation.
Interestingly enough, though, Phoenix One still opting to start Meteos today. Of course, we'll have the option to substitute in Inori in games 2 and 3 if they so choose. But at least for now, sticking with Meteos in the jungle, which should be very interesting. Now, for a more in-depth look at all these changes and more, check out the new podcast, The Dive. Jump into the world of League esports with Jack, Kobe, and Azael, where they cover international news, follow the meta trends, and take a closer look at the North American LCS. You can listen to them get unplugged Thursday at soundcloud.com/thedivelol. But now it's time to see if TLDL can be Liquid Savior in our first match of the day. So take it away, guys.
Thank you, Dash. Hello, everyone. I'm Julian Petrie-Tumka, and my roster move over the weekend was to have Joshua Jet Leesman join me on the cast. We're getting ready.
Yeah, I thought we'd have to wait till at least summer to see Doublelift, but we get to see him in spring, which is great.
See what he does today as we are getting ready for our first series as Team Liquid goes against Cloud9. And after a week of some pretty crazy pickups, the question has to be for Liquid, can Doublelift bail the team out of last place?
And it's a good question because despite not practicing with LCS teams, Doublelift has been keeping up on his mechanics, playing a plethora of champions. He's been a full-time streamer for 5 months. And remember that this is a bot laner as well. They played 21 games of Lucian in the summer split, so don't know how big his champion pool is really going to be. And he was also a shot caller on TSM, so I'm really curious how that's now going to fit onto this Team Liquid team.
And although eyes might be on the return of the superstar bot laner, it's also important to remember that this is only Piglet's 3rd match as a mid laner, which had its ups and downs in week 6.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And his first week as a mid laner, as you mentioned, was hit and miss. He had some great games. He got 2 Player of the Game awards. They actually won a match. But he also showed some weaknesses in the role. His overall stats have very negative CSD at 15. 60 of those are actually from 1 match against Froggen, but even removing that game, he's still going to be negative on the week. So Piglet is going to have to find consistency and still pick it up a little bit if he wants to help dig Liquid out of this hole.
Well, today Piglet goes against Jensen, who was then making his case for the king of mid lane all split long.
Yeah, and Jensen is statistically the hardest mid laner to lane against. His CSD at 15 has been awesome. He's ahead in 22 of his 29 games. And there's this perception that that's because Contracts is camping for him. But Jensen actually has the lowest mid-jungle proximity in the league at 19%. Opponent jungle proximity against him is 23%, and that's time between 3 and 15 minutes in which the jungler is within 2,000 units of their mid laner. So Jensen is getting these leads despite actually being pressured by the enemy jungler more than he's helped by Contracts, which is crazy.
Certainly is, and even though Doublelift has just joined Team Liquid, he's already got playoffs in his sights for the new squad.
I don't know about 4th place. I don't really care. I just want to help the team reach playoffs. I think it's possible. Our first match is Cloud9, and we have 1.5 days of practice, so I basically get 3 scrims. But after Cloud9, I think it'll definitely pick up. Our next match after that is Envy, and then the rest of the weeks we'll see what happens. But 4th place is a long shot. I would say if we can make playoffs, I'll be really happy, and I think I'll have reached my goal.
Well, with that, it is time to go through our starting lineups. On the blue side, it is going to be the new Team Liquid. This should be fun. In the top lane, there's Lolo. In the jungle, Rainover. Mid laner, Piglet. Bot laner, Doublelift. Support, Matt. And coach, David Lim.
They also have Adrian as their sub support that they can choose to sub in after any of the games. Facing them on the red side, it is Cloud9. Mostly the same. We got Impact in the top lane, Contracts in the jungle, Jensen mid lane, we just talked about him, Sneaky and Smoothie as solid as ever in the bot lane, and Reaper, their coach.
And certainly should be a lot of fun to see how, again, more new Team Liquid members can add to this team. I mean, I think Doublelift said it best. He's got nothing to lose here by making this move.
Yeah, I mean, except all of the games if they do lose. Like, that's the thing. You can still have this be bad and not good. So I'm very curious to see how much rust Doublelift has, how much rust the Team Liquid team has, or how much chaos there's going to be. And it's not like they get an easy start. This is the 1st place team in the North American LCS. And in any other week, this is a first versus worst matchup. You're expecting a clean 2-0. But because of this monumental change that came in, we just have to see what Doublelift can bring from streaming.
And look, individually, Doublelift should still be there as far as the mechanics go. He's probably on top of the strong champions as well because he is someone that does like to win and follows the meta as a result. But I think cohesion has to be the obvious thing here. Doublelift had maybe a day and a half to play with his new team. He hasn't known about all the moves when they were happening, so there's a lot to ask here for Team Liquid. Liquid.
Yeah, the roster lock was on Tuesday, so they signed him just before the deadline. He didn't fly to Los Angeles. His flight was on Wednesday, and when he was in the airport, he saw they also signed Adrian, who's not starting today. It's Matt still, but just to give you an idea of how recent all of this stuff is and how cohesion is almost impossible to have at this point.
Well, we'll see what happens here in the draft for Game 1. Liquid on the blue side, banning Shen, Camille, and Malzahar. And then Cloud9 with Varus, LeBlanc, and one more to come here. Remember, still on 7.4. So Varus is one of the only must-ban champions left.
Yeah, everyone's been memeing about Lucian getting buffed as Doublelift makes his return. But we won't be on patch 7.5, which is the current live patch, until next week in the North American LCS. So not seeing too many surprises in the ban phase yet. And I actually like the Rumble ban because I feel like that's a champ that has been making a lot of noise lately.
Certainly has been. I mean, Impact's had some good games on it. Lolo happy to pick up a carry or two when he gets a chance. But Liquid might just keep it simple with this first pick. Rengar going to go over, giving up Graves, which is kind of their other top-tier jungle option.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought Reignover has been much more successful on Graves than the Rengar. With that being said, North American teams continue to prioritize this Rengar very highly in the draft despite very mixed success. It's a little bit better from an initiation perspective than the Graves would be, which might be what Team Liquid is going for with that early pick.
I know Jensen also hates playing against Rengar Shen in particular. No Shen this time, it was banned on Liquid's side, but maybe there's something there as well, trying to go after the mid laner that everybody wants to kill, which is Jensen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last week against Echo Fox, there was a Rengar Ahri against Jensen where he started the game 0-3, so there is some history very recently of Jensen having a little bit of trouble against a Rengar. That champion obviously can apply a huge amount of early game pressure, and we see Cloud9 matching with Graves.
Yep, Graves makes sense here. We'll see what happens for the next pick, though. It'll be a very big change for Cloud9. Looking for an 80 carry we don't see that much of. Ezreal has been making his way back in, but haven't seen too much of him in NA.
Yeah, and this is one of those things that has started a little bit in patch 7.4, and I think we'll see more of in patch 7.5. With Varus banned, you're kind of then looking at the Jhin-Ashe duo, with lethality having some minor nerfs on the 7.4 patch, and more people realizing how good it is to buy very early armor against lethality to make it less effective. I think stuff like Ezreal and Caitlyn can be super huge in this meta, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we see a Caitlyn from Doublelift, assuming it's not banned by C9 on the second phase.
Well, there's Lulu already locked in for Liquid, so and more defensive support here for Matt, maybe trying again to make sure Doublelift can get in positions to carry. Yeah. And then Renekton has been one of the standout top laners rising up. Lulu's going to take that one here.
Yeah, especially picking it blind. With the Maokai and the Nautilus still up, Maokai did receive fairly large nerfs on patch 7.4, and we saw him drop in priority pretty drastically last week, but the Nautilus is still pretty big if they're going to be going with a kind of hyper carry, Doublelift type strategy, which is a little bit less likely when they have the Renekton top lane who needs to bully.
Well, we'll see what happens in our second ban phase as Karma is the final pick there for Cloud9 here. Pretty standard support. Smoothie happy to take that one away. But I wonder if Cloud9 are going to pick on the newest member of Team Liquid in Doublelift.
Yeah, you almost expect it. Doublelift did tweet that he really thinks Draven is an OP pick, and he's been playing a lot of that. We could see it.
We could.
But just looking at the draft overall, not even thinking about Doublelift, I feel like Cloud9's draft has been really solid so far. They have taken away one of Doublelift's best champions in the Ezreal. The Graves, I feel like, is just as good, if not better, than the Rengar on the current patch. And they're most likely going up against a Lulu, and I think Karma's the better support in that matchup. So nothing but positive things to say about C9 on their first three picks.
And they've certainly been good in drafts all season long. They do ban Sivir, though, as their first one. Gragas is actually the answer for Team Liquid, another pick that's been picking up a bit more popularity, mainly towards top lane. Ashe ban for Cloud9, so Liquid getting their final ban here. It's another top laner. Nautilus is going to be taken away. So what does Sneaky want now for his team?
Very true. He will have to be locking in the top lane or the mid lane. Knowing Cloud9, they usually wait to counter-pick mid, especially against someone like Piglet, where Jensen's going to want to assert some dominance in that mid lane. So I'm thinking a top lane tank here, but it really depends on what Impact wants to play against Renekton, since that's the matchup they know.
Yeah, looks like maybe Poppy is going to be locked in here with Nautilus taken away. Will be to pick up the Cloud9, so now Liquid have to finish this draft.
Yeah, we haven't seen that much Poppy lately, but I can see that being a outscaling lane matchup where he'll get bullied early but still be able to scale. And also, because of the steadfast presence on Poppy, really cuts down on Renekton's ability to all-in you with Slice and Dice, so I think a pretty solid pick there.
It's kind of one of the reasons I like the blind pick Renekton from Liquid, but particularly with Rumble ban, there's not really anything you're afraid of in the current metagame, kind of forcing Cloud9 into a tank anyway. But we'll see what happens here. Looks like Rise is open for Piglet. Will get picked up here. Has seen some more nerfs, but again, 7.4 was light touches. 7.5 had more heavier-handed changes.
Exactly, and Rise was one of Piglet's main champions in the mid lane before he became a mid laner, when he would claim that he knew how to mid lane because it was his secondary role. It's because he played a lot of Rise, and his Rise was relatively effective, not to mention he's a fairly safe blind pick.
Well, what's the last pick here for Liquid? Could be a classic, it will be. Jin locked in for double lift.
Yeah, I mean, Jin doesn't seem like your double lift type champion from your LCS memories of double lift. It is his most played champion in solo queue. Also, his lowest win rate, 80 carry in solo queue, just an even 50%. So nothing spectacular, but clearly capable on the champion. Very standard team comp when you get done with it for Team Liquid.
Yeah, I mean, double lift was slow to learn Jin, it felt like, but by the end of summer, he kind of got there. See what Cloud9 respond with counterpick. It is going to be Ahri for Jensen. So very standard draft on both sides here, but I think teams should be happy with where they've landed for game one.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the C9 composition. They have a lot of mobility. They don't necessarily have that hard engage that you expect from a lot of teams, but they haven't necessarily needed that to win a lot of their games. So looking forward to seeing if they can kind of just outlane and out-pressure Team Liquid, because that's the strategy they're going for with all these range champions. Whereas Team Liquid, it's interesting, right? Lulu Jin doesn't seem like the most common of your dual lanes. Normally, if you're going to do Lulu, you go with something like a Caitlyn afterwards. So a little perplexed by a lot of the decisions Team Liquid made, but when you look at the whole team composition, it's a lot of CC and the ability to initiate and play the game.
Very straightforward for Team Liquid, I think. You have two champions that will happily run at the enemy. You've got a Lulu to make your initiation a bit better, or to protect your carries. You've got two solid carries in Rise and Jin. Plenty of picks, some good lockdown. Again, Team Liquid, if they're going to rattle off a bunch of wins in a row, particularly against a team as good as Cloud9, they're going to have to do it one game at a time, and in a very straightforward fashion.
Exactly, and we need to reiterate what Team Liquid is up against right now. 3-9, 6 games to go. Still need to play the top 4 teams in the North American LCS standings, and their very first game since the deadline is against the #1 team, so a lot stacked against them.
Certainly is. Cloud9, they're looking to make it business as usual. As you can see, the team comp set lined up on your screen. Certainly curious to see our Jensen playing Ahri here. This is a champion that has been picking up in popularity. Froggen had some spectacular flanks last week, although he couldn't quite get his team over the line. Jensen has been a recipient of Ahri pressure already, particularly with Rengar. We'll see what he does with it in his hands now, as Cloud9 and another new look at Team Liquid will take to the roof for game number 1.
Yeah, and this is just one of the reasons I like broadcasting North American LCS. A lot of leagues, you'll see the first versus last place team and think, there's not much here, we're just going to get through this 2-0, but so much credit in a sense to Team Liquid for constantly pushing the envelope and trying to make it work. And the amount of noise they made essentially at the trade deadline creates a lot of excitement, but also gives them a chance to try to move up in the standings. And then the fact that they're just up against Cloud9, who has been rock solid all year. Some very close games, but usually coming out on top of it with a 10-2 overall match record just makes this very exciting.
Felt like for a while the top teams were wavering a little bit towards the height of the standings, but as it turns out, C9 TSM still looking strong. See what Team Liquid could do. They got a big hole to climb out of from 10th place. As you can see, everyone just fanned out at level 1. Nothing too crazy. Having a quick look at the minimap, doesn't look like any deep wards have gone down, so we should start things off quite quietly here.
Yeah, so
Minions have spawned.
We also do need to make sure we're talking about the Piglet versus Jensen, because this is still an 80 carry playing mid lane, and it started off so hot last week, but then ended pretty disastrously with his Orianna into Froggen's Victor. This is by no means an easy matchup, Rise into Ahri.
Well, you can see it looks like Piglet and Lolo grouping up, trying to disrupt these Raptors. Don't quite get the wards, so C9 going to feel confident here, taking these out. Impact gets a little bit of help down for Contracts, and Contracts going to take these down pretty simply.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Rainover had to get smacked by the Raptors all the way down to half health. Rengar's early clear is actually not very good. He almost consistently is at very low amounts of health, so they tried to make sure that Graves couldn't outpace him, but were unable to disrupt that Raptor.
Going to take this red buff here, should smite that down and get some extra health out of the deal. Jensen, again, one of the hardest, probably the hardest mid laner to lane against. Piglet will not have an easy test here, despite having a week of practice in mid lane, but so far so good. And on a pretty stable champion there in Rise. Kind of curious to see Ignite versus Heal as far as summoners go. I haven't seen that in a while, but look for Jensen to maybe get aggressive if he finds a spot. And Double Lift already getting pushed in. Sneaky and Smoothie able to get that lane pushing first.
Yeah, very true. Seen heal a little bit more, mainly from Piglet. I mean, he's used to the Summoner spell.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he's played it as an AD for so long. A lot of rises would go with Ghost or Exhaust, but the heal is the choice for Piglet. Can't fault him.
Good so far. We'll keep watching this 2v2. Double taking some poke here, but Matt able to answer back decently onto Smoothie. Thunderbolt's going to proc actually from the Lulu, so a bit of extra harassment available there. And again, Double is such a good play individually, but how's their 2v2 with Piglet and Jensen going at it, but Piglet wants in. Jensen actually taking a little too much damage.
Whoa!
Flashes in, gets the kill in there, first blood.
Well, speaking of which, Piglet gets a level 3 solo kill onto Jensen. That was just a totally disrespectful move from Jensen, coming in from the flank, thinking Piglet would back away and think there was a jungler behind him. Piglet does none of that, says, dude, what are you doing? Pretty much just presses all his buttons and gets the kill. Now right over top lane.
Oh, Impact taking so much damage already. He flashes out, but that's not going to be enough. Lolo gets the second kill for Team Liquid. And there's the kill in bottom lane, Team Liquid. They complete the 3-for-3. Every lane has gotten a kill.
And this is something that has not happened to C9 all year. All 3 lanes dying before the 4-minute mark. And this is a team who arguably has the strongest lanes in the league. So pretty much an insanely effective start for Team Liquid. We're going to get to see that bottom lane kill again as soon as they give us a replay. That's insane, Pastry.
I mean, Matt and his Ignite got them pretty low, but I didn't think they could actually get the kill. Proving me wrong there as Sneaky falls down. Piglet going to get an early blue buff out of the dealer. So Renova's like, yeah, you already got some extra experience from this gank, so happy to give this over. And look at Sneaky, just here with no health.
Unbelievable. So Sneaky very low, as you mentioned. And Matt just flashes. And then does he get him with the, he had the deadly flourish from Jin for the kill. Oh man, that is what you need to do to get a kill. Sneaky dies with flash up. Thought it wasn't going to hit or something.
Smoothie saw that juicy lane CS. Decided not to be in range for a shield either. So rough stuff for C9 as Team Liquid fans are certainly making their voices heard out on Twitter, currently winning the fan vote. We'll see if it continues here. 3-0 is a great start for Team Liquid, given all the things that have happened in the last 2 weeks.
And it's spread out too, because they now have advantages in every single lane. The Serrated Dirk being completed by Doublet, perfect power spike. Sneaky had to go with Cull after the death, so he's potentially going to be able to bully. Renekton already a lane bully. We knew Impact was going to be in a defensive matchup. Burned his flash when dying. That's the worst part of it too. 2 of the solo lanes burned flash while dying. So if Team Liquid were to snowball this game, this is how you'd exactly want to start. Rainover needs to hit level 6, re-gank one of those solo lanes, and try and snowball from there.
Certainly going to be watching for Rainover once he does get that ultimate, but we'll turn back to this bottom lane as Sneaky may be feeling a little sheepish. Once again, going back to business, pushing this lane out. But I mean, Matt, we know he's an aggressive support player. That was one of the flaws of him and Piglet as a duo. They played too aggressively at times, but Double is certainly an aggressive player. Might work out here as Double does take good poke from Smoothie, who's trying to keep the lane back under control.
Yeah, also have to note that Matt upgraded to the Frostfang, whereas Smoothie built a health crystal instead of upgrading. Temporarily, this makes Matt much squishier while giving him better access to gold generation, so we've got to be careful of the all-in.
Well, again, tracking Rainover, still moving in towards that next level. Contract's also level 5 and getting close to 6 himself. Going to walk himself over to this right-hand side jungle for Team Liquid. Rainover needs, I think, 1 more camp as well, so going to have another action point pretty soon here.
Yeah, the junglers are mirroring each other's jungle, not really finding anything, but Rainover, I think, was hoping to hit level 6 up there so he'd be able to do one of these return ganks.
Lolo doing a lot of work for him already. He's level 6, not going to fancy a dive just yet, will Renekton. But now Contract's actually bottom side. This might be a dive setup for Cloud9. The Contract's already going to hit the recall button, but I don't think Cloud9 want to take that risk.
Yeah, that would be really ambitious to try and go for that gank. Defensive summoner spells all up for double lift. So I don't see how that gank almost ever works. Whereas Impact gets completely pushed off the turret because that's a gank that actually had threats. So I don't know what Contract is doing there, and Team Liquid is going to extend their lead here.
Yeah, looks like another wave going to get proxied by Lolo. Double lift going to get snared up, not quite. Instead gets snared by double lift. Sneaky eating damage from the bouncing grenade. Again, Cloud9 have to tread carefully here in bottom lane, but don't want to play too passive in the 2v2 despite that kill. Looks like Jensen and Piglet on the other side have just been pushing each other back in. Jensen, I think, smartly going refillable second Dorans, kind of doesn't want to get himself killed again.
Yeah, it's one of those things that happens as well when you die that early. Instead of waiting for something like a Lost Chapter, you're going to go immediately into another Dorans because it's what you can afford and you need the immediate power.
He's behind 10 CS though, so things not looking good for Jensen. We talked about his laning stats before, not looking hot right now, although he's got a little bit more time to get that CSD at 15 back to where it usually is.
Yeah, and we also got to point out that even though it's just Piglet's second week in mid lane, you're going to be a lot more comfortable your second week than your very first week. So there's still road for improvement, but they're going in on Piglet.
No, Jensen looking for another one here, but Piglet actually gets charmed. Now the rest of Cloud9 are here trying to convert this kill. Contract with the ultimate. Rainover might be able to save him. Flash order from Contract's going to get Piglet, and now Rainover is going to get snared up, but no one wants to follow.
Oh man, the heal nearly the savior there for Piglet, but there was still enough damage to burst him through at the turret, and that was a nice smoothie roam to assist with Contract hitting 6, and it also negates Rainover's Rengar ultimate, so C9 actually able to aggress when it looked like it was TL's time to do so. Very nice move.
Might be too much here for Contract, so as Matt's going to chase him down, but Camp, he's not going to get it. Matt actually collects the gold for it, so able to auto that Raptor down. Contract smoke screen, not quite getting it. Instead, he'll eat the honey fruit. Smoothie's going to try and track Matt. Gets a ward over the back of the Drake pit. And Sneaky again going to move up. Just get a ward down and probably clear this control ward out. Although Matt going to stay for these last few autos. Double lift coming up as well. Sneaky plays it safe.
Yeah, smart move there by Matt and Double Lift to not let Sneaky get that control ward for free. TL was in very good position to defend it with Rainover back towards the Krugs pit. But a little bit of a bounce back for C9, mainly because of Jensen's initiative there to get the charm down, trying to pull back in that lane a little bit, but Piglet's still looking to make an aggressive move. Walks through a control ward,
got his ulti.
Going up.
Yeah, he's going to start it off. Ooh, ulti from Impact's going to force a flash, although he does get Lolo out of the way. Nice roam there from Piglet, able to get a free summoner spell.
Yeah, let's hope that Piglet gets that control ward on the way back. Nope. He does not. So this is one of those things that is something every mid laner should kind of have in their pattern when they're roaming in the river to be checking those brushes. Does not have that as of yet. Walk past it twice without checking.
In fact, going to TP back to lane. Certainly feeling the pressure 1v1 versus Lolo. Smoothie does dodge that Deadly Forest, but Double Lift going to get the ulti out instead. Smoothie hits the first bullet. Sneaky again for the next. Not going to quite get the start, but Sneaky actually ignited. Forced to heal down. Is going to live, but it's so close.
And the delayed ignite right there, really catching Sneaky a bit off guard. Has to burn the heal, as you mentioned, but incredibly slim margin. Sneaky actually sticking around, though, trying to get just enough gold for, I think, a pickaxe as he's going to build up towards a Muramana.
I mean, certainly gold required here for Cloud9. They are down CS in a number of their lanes. Mid is even, but top is behind 15. Double Lift also ahead about the same. As Sneaky and Smoothie are going to go back. And TL, with those 3 kills, are still 2,000 gold ahead here at 10 minutes. So the early lead's still looking good for them. We'll see if they can extend it here. And they've been playing proactively to try and do so.
Yeah, and so much of it's going to be about whether or not Team Liquid can play as this new team and how their communication dynamics are going to work. Lorlo has become a much more vocal player. How vocal is Piglet as far as a shot calling role in the mid lane, we just don't know. Rainover is a great shot caller and has a bunch of success, but just hasn't had it this year. I mean, there's a lot that we're going to get small answers to during this game because Team Liquid would be in position to do this, but they had these 3 kills 7 minutes ago and haven't actually extended the lead a single piece of gold since then, it feels like, and C9 got one back and has kept the lane stabilized.
Looks like Infernal Drake could be an extension of that lead somewhat here. They're pretty well set up for it, but don't feel confident to just rush it down. Contract is on this left side of the jungle, but of course, they don't know that right yet. Instead, Contract getting some vision down, trying to cover this side of the jungle. And TL do not pull the trigger on the Drake. Again, don't have quite enough knowledge to know whether or not it's safe to go for.
Yeah, I mean, Contracts has complete control of that side. They've really traded control where TL has the blue buff of C9 as well as the Drake, whereas this is what Lorlo has to deal with. Ari was missing as well, which is why actually very smart for Lorlo to go back there, even though it potentially loses him his turret. So that's the counterplay by C9, getting turret pressure for the Infernal Drake.
Bit of a weird trade actually, but I really like the move from Cloud9. Lorlo going to get locked down by Impact, but happy to fight 1v1. Contract's not coming back down, instead guiding the wave towards the turret, but Lorlo can't fight 1v2, even with his turret there. There's now Piglet's lining something up. Smoothie trying to get out.
Dive.
Realm Walk going to cut somebody off. Rainover jumps in for it. Jin ulti already started. Damage is there as the dive from Lulu is going to help out after our ultimate. Sneaky goes down as well. Team Liquid make it look very clean.
Yeah, and when C9 fully commits to killing that turret, Team Liquid actually needs to get one back. The fact that they do get the turret, they lose the first turret rate, and now it's a tempo race because they invested 5 people to that bottom side and did nothing to stop the mid lane and top lane pushes. If C9 can get a second turret off this, it can be worth it, potentially.
Might be an overcommit from Team Liquid, despite the theory behind the play looking good. The practice does not work out, and there's that next turret there for Cloud9. Jensen also got damage onto the mid lane turret. You can see didn't take too much damage, but 25% down isn't bad. So let's just play again.
Yeah, we're going to see this. The teleport in from Renekton probably wasn't necessary because you notice he's just kind of walking in as everyone is dead. The 4-man dive, great idea by Team Liquid. Piglet Realm Warping is all they needed to cut them off. They did not need the teleport as well. If Lorlo stays back, he saves that second turret and makes it a fully positive trade for Team Liquid.
Well, nice to see them being proactive regardless, but certainly Cloud9 happy with the trade they've made. Gold League cut down to about 1,500 now. TL still holding an advantage with the early kills that they have gotten, but C9 reacting appropriately, and certainly they have been a team this season, despite how strong the individual players have looked and how good they've looked as a team. They've had surprisingly slow starts to games. They usually take over in the mid game and then just have a very clean end to the game.
Exactly, and C9 couldn't kind of be in position to do that this game as well, even though it looked like it started so disastrously. When you look at the match records in the NLCS and you see C9 and TSM at 10-2, kind of 3 matches ahead of Phoenix 1 and FlyQuest, it feels like they're running away with the league a little bit. But then you look at the game score, and TSM has just as many losses as Phoenix 1. Even the bottom tier teams like Team Liquid still have, 10 or 11 games, 12 games that they've won. I actually feel like there's a level of parity in the NALCS that we haven't seen in last years. Way more in the first 15 to 20 minutes of the game as well, because even the top teams aren't smashing people during those periods of the game, and so much of it has been being able to clutch out those wins in the close games post 15 minutes, and that's where C9 has really made their bank, and they are down 1,300 gold. Doesn't matter for them, so they should still be comfortable in this game.
Yeah, perfectly fine there as far as overall damage control goes. Looks like blue buff is going to get donated over to Jensen. We did have Team Liquid rotate their dual lane to the mid as well, and Piglet at least briefly was hanging out bottom, although Lolo is going to get there now. So lane assignments changing up for TL, trying to knock down even more turrets and kind of use the advantage they built for themselves. Cloud9 only did get 2 turrets, but they only got them in 1 lane. So as far as where the map is opened up, it's going to look very similar still, so I think Team Liquid are doing what they can to try and knock down more turrets and open up the map more for themselves.
Exactly, and now it's a control word question. With Ryze showing in the top lane, C9's going to feel fairly confident about this despite how dark the map was. This is when it's dangerous.
Yeah, problems there. Contract's going to get bursted down. Rainova collects an easy one.
And that was a tough situation because Contracts wanted to get river control and wanted to reestablish the portion of the map where they were down a turret. However, it was safe when C9 had everyone there. As soon as Smoothing moves up towards red buff, Contracts can't make that move. He has to then push out towards the top lane and wait for the backup. Great job by Team Liquid setting up that trade.
The extension of the play as well, rotating towards top lane to try and do damage to the turret. Sitting at about 40% health, but Team Liquid don't fancy going too hard on it. Instead, Impact will get cut off as Matt gets some damage down. Returned though from Cloud9 as they get the poke in from Ezreal Karma. Looks like Contracts are trying to answer. Lolo pressuring mid lane and the bottom wave pushing for TL. So this is a relatively well set up play for them. We'll see what Cloud9 do defensively.
Yeah. Map pressure really transitioning for Team Liquid right here, and they're chipping away at those turrets. Also want to point out with the second Drake being Infernal in 1 minute and 40 seconds, Team Liquid's team composition is one of the best you can have with the Infernal Drake. The fact that they have 4 people on their team, either itemizing heavy attack damage or ability power, makes that bonus from the Infernal Drake that much more effective in this matchup.
Kind of alluded to it earlier, but I think eyes have to be on Rain over here. Not just for, his ability to look good in game, because he did have a struggling end to the season last year and kind of a slow start as well. But I think when you look at new teams, the first thing you think of is how is the team going to gel, and you look to your leaders to group your team back together and push your new team forward. Rainova, one of his best qualities when you purchase him as a player starting the season is his ability to lead both in and out of game. If he can make Liquid look good with these changes, a lot of credit has to go to him.
Yeah, and you also look at his build. When Rainover was playing Rengar, even in the All-Star game, he was going tank Rengar. He's got the Warrior Enchantment, and he's on his way to his Edge of Night. So that's the lethality build potentially coming through from Rainover. I'm wondering if that transitions into more AD as well. Just sometimes players building Glass Cannon can be a sign of confidence or hubris. It depends. Results-based analysis, one would say for this. But for now, I like it as far as Rainover being aggressive.
Looks like Drake is the setup here for Team Liquid. It's up in 20 seconds. They are trying to get control of this Scuttle Crab. Should have it locked down as maybe looking to pick somebody off. Sneaky shifts over the wall, back towards his teammates, but Liquid have set up well for this objective. Piglet down bottom lane, pressure running through mid, and Vision's already down. So Team Liquid looking to get their second Infernal in a row.
And C9 is actually just going to try and get some of the map pressure back. Every time Team Liquid's committing in one spot, C9 is trying to commit in another spot, and it's going to work out for him here.
Nice pressure on the mid lane. Jensen kind of prepped it already, so turret doesn't have much health left. Means that TL's focus on the objective will lose themselves a turret. Kind of caught here. Jensen does get snared up, and there's Lawler flashing in immediately. Gets the stun down as Rainover tries to jump into the backline. Piglet arriving a little late, but he's now here, ready to lock somebody down. Sneaky has to look carefully as Jensen fires a charm and does go a little wide. Team Liquid pinging onto the Drake. They're going to try and go back.
Yeah, Team Liquid burned a lot there. Renekton Ultimate being down is massive for a team fight of this level of importance. The steadfast presence from Impact completely stuffed that initiation. It's actually very risky now for Team Liquid to force this Drake. That's what they're doing, though.
Certainly are forcing. Drake pretty low on health, but Piglet around the side looking for a flank.
Well, they're so low.
They're going to try and finish it off, but Impact already gets it. He does get the Drake, but he'll go down for his troubles. Matt now getting chased down as Impact will get snared on the front side by Double Lift, and Matt just buying time for the rest of his team. He's likely just a casualty at this point, but he's going to try and make an escape.
Run! That's the other team's base, unfortunately.
How long has it been? I don't think he's there for an execute, but he's going to run as far as he can.
If he gets to the second turret, I think it's going to be a 15 seconds. They're giving him the execute.
Yeah, can just leave it alone. There's the execute. Matt does lead Cloud9 away.
And Double Lift! Wait, how did Double Lift get executed
He died to red buff?
He died to something that he wasn't supposed to die to.
I'm going to need a replay of what happened there. I'm pretty sure it's red buff.
I'm very excited to see this replay. These are some of the rust factors potentially, but that play in its entirety was potentially worth it, only giving up one kill for the Drake. What wasn't worth it, though, is what C9 was able to do beforehand, getting the pressure in the mid lane. We're going to see this fight one more time. And you can see how low they're getting from this Infernal Drake. Rainover had the clutchest of smites there, as it was a total 50-50, maybe even less because C9 had better position on it. But Double Lift delays Impact with that Deadly Flourish. And now we're going to get the moment. I think you're right, Pastry. I think you died to red buff.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to sneak up on you. You're reloading. I mean, really, it could happen to anyone, one would say. Oops. Yeah, that just happened. You have your Broken Shards who died to red buff and your Double Lift. Basically the same tier of players, what we've just learned.
See, if that was a stream highlight, that would have actually been optimal. So maybe Double Lift, remembering his whole audience, instead does die to red buff. A little unfortunate, but thankfully doesn't give a kill over to Cloud9, and looks like he's picked up the red buff now. So it's off the map. Managed to get his revenge. We'll see what Piglet's got set up here for Sneaky.
Yeah, and the thing that we can't detract from the game, Double Lift down to red buff there actually doesn't matter. The map was resetting anyway. It hurts his experience by a little bit, but the game is still the same. We're dead even in gold. The turret pressure's in C9's favor, and the double Infernal is on TL, which will be good for them late game.
Good dodge there from Jensen out of the Deadly Flourish as Rainover runs himself back towards his team. Cloud9 have been on the offensive though. Like you said, they've opened up the map more. That mid-turret take was really smart from Cloud9 despite having to give up a Drake. Piglet and Sneaky again matching up. Baron imposing, but we'll just watch Sneaky leave the pit. And that Contract getting done by Rainover. Good flash, but the Jhin ultimate can finish him off instead. Contract is going to hug the wall.
Piglet's going over!
Well, it's going to attack Piglet once, and he will get it. Now Jensen getting chased down. Jensen forced the flash onto his turret. Turret's low, but just enough to defend Jensen. As Team Liquid going to try and take it down. Should be able to get it, but Impact going to turn it around perhaps. Piglet getting low, turret falls. Impact now on the front line getting snared up. Lolo still trying to soak as much damage as he can. Great bowler there as Piglet's on a killing spree.
Things are starting to turn up for Team Liquid if they can get more fights like that where C9 is willing to funnel in kind of one at a time and just get blown away by Team Liquid's high damage composition with 4 people building attack damage or ability power itemization there. So poor collapse there by Impact. Thought he was going to be able to save the turret. Really just gets him in more trouble.
Trying to dive onto Double Lift, but Jensen commits all the charges of his ultimate and doesn't find him. Now going to go back. Double Lift should have a second lethality item finished or very close to. So watch this play from Rainover starting it off.
Rainover flashed the wall to get into that position to force Contract's flash, and then Really nice there by Piglet giving the Rune Prison so that the 4th Jin bullet could land. And then from here, Impact was hoping for a better ultimate. If he can get rid of one of the carries, I think this works. But when he just gets the support, Lorlo can just finish off the turret, and all of the damage dealers of Team Liquid could just turn to Impact. So that's why that play didn't work out in the end, and it goes 2-0 over to Team Liquid.
Yeah, Team Liquid now up back again in the 2,000 gold margin. And again, with 2 Infernal Drakes, ooh, very a nice steal on the big Raptor. Team Liquid, and all their damage is still hurting C9, who are building up those defenses. Impact, I mean, he will get tanky, but he hasn't even finished a second tank item yet, so I think Cloud9 overstepping a bit there versus Team Liquid, who should still have a lead. Maybe the gold lead's not that massive, but overall composition and just current raw damage numbers look good. They do get a 3rd tower there and bring that gold lead up to about 3K.
Yeah, the fact that they've been able to equalize the turrets is really big for them since they are generally stronger in team fights. And also the Drakes are working out very well for them. They have the Infernal Drakes to make them superior in team fights, and then the Mountain Drakes so that if they are behind on a rotation and they're trading turrets, they'd be able to get to them faster. This next Drake will be pretty important in deciding that. If C9 is somehow able to get some map pressure and sneak that Mountain Drake, it's good for them in this context because I feel like they're rotating better than Team Liquid. They're generally making better map plays, and that could just build on that strength.
Team Liquid, they're still setting things up, or at least trying to somewhat effectively. It seems like they're playing relatively risky, so maybe some of that double lift shot calling is coming into play.
I think definitely a small part of it, and Rainover is playing with a huge amount of confidence in this game, as is Piglet. The number of offensive flashes for Team Liquid in this game is higher than we've seen for most of the year.
Jensen, though, with the Ludens not finished, on top of that Merlinomicon, should have an easy time clearing out the waves, so pressure mid's going to stop for a little while longer. Jensen caught, though. That's good pressure. Does get himself out of the way. Impact in a slam. Piglet into that next wall. Context over the top. Looking to try and get an assassination. Roll-up doesn't get him out. Good knock up there from Impact. Wild Growth not enough as there's 2 kills over to Cloud9, but it's a bit of a mess as we did actually get another. Now Sneaky stand up. Should go down as well. Double lift. Such accuracy. Is able to really turn the back end of the fight around. Lolo trying to stun somebody else up, but he's only got Impact to really chase down instead. Moves over to Red Buff.
Yeah, and these are the types of brawls that you want to see from an aggressive team as they can kind of turn it around for a 3-for-2 despite not entering the fight all at the same time. Just the willingness to go in. Lorlo finally getting involved in one of these team fights. You see what a level 14 Renekton can do. So syncs up perfectly with the Mountain Drake, and Team Liquid should get this.
Yeah, looks like resistance from Cloud9. Not much here, just Contracts and Impact right now.
They're both full health, and it's 2v3.
Well, Drake already dead, so now they have to try not to die. Impact doesn't get himself snared up by the W, so that will be okay there. And TL again, capitalizing on some strong aggression. Happy to play chaotic League of Legends.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of this fight, Jensen was taken very low, but it does put Piglet in a difficult situation. I actually love the polymorph there by Matt to delay the instant burst from Contracts, but then it just comes a second and a half later because Piglet had no flash to get out of that situation. The accuracy, as you mentioned, from double lift on that deadly flourish, allowing Lorlo to finish off that kill, and then another wall slam by Impact to kind of get everyone away.
And look, this is, I think, what we expect from a new team in a sense here for TL. Not a lot of time to practice together, but definitely have talented players. If you're going to move your talented AD carry from bot to mid lane and then get a new AD carry who's also very individually skilled, I think one of your best ways to win is just create situations where your mechanics can outplay the enemy team and try not to play the map too much. You have to play it a little because you're not going to win a game competitively if you don't, but they've got enough brains behind it and they're creating situations where your individual talent's able to shine, like those fights there.
I agree, and when we talk about talent as well, Rainover and Doublelift have both been absurdly successful as shot calling people for their teams. So they have that innate ability or the history of shot calling, whatever you want to call it, within the team, and it's just a matter of kind of making that work. But in this game, it definitely feels like they're trying to shrink the match as much as possible and just force those fights where they can hopefully try and be on the same level as C9, who arguably, as we said, has some of the best individual talent in the league.
Well, still able to do their work here on the side lanes. Lolo got bottom lane pushing. Impact's now there to answer it. Matt and Sneaky doing a standoff, but Sneaky gets to control it and gets out. Piglet massacred the poor wave in topside. As C9 setting a trap, Piglet gets charmed. Wild Growth might be able to save him, but Jensen going to commit for everything else here. Piglet flashes out, Matt follows, but then Jensen with another kill. Now Doublelift going to get himself chased down. Force flash under his turret, but C9 are going to try and chase down for it. Don't get him, but two clean ones there for Cloud9.
And that was a really good play by C9. They had the control wards in the river, which allowed them to enter into the jungle with the control wards, and another pick onto Piglet, who was kind of leading the charge while Lorla was off on the side lane. This is what C9 needs to build on now, because they didn't actually burn that much. And now it's a 5v3 if TL wanted to stop it. Baron's actually just going to go clean over to C9.
Yeah, Reno was not even close to try and contest for it. So Cloud9 pick up a Baron and turn the game back around again. Team Liquid have been up 2,000 to 3,000 gold for a lot of this game, but Cloud9 gonna pretty much even that all back up and then try and do some real damage with this buff.
Yeah, and looking at this, you know, Matt's walking through as a sweeper, doesn't think the jungler's been warded out, but they missed that spot, and they had no control of the river, so it's tricky about who would actually be able to check in that area, because no one is the tank since their tank's off in the side lane. Really just got to credit C9 for being able to sneak into that spot.
And this is one of those things where you can kind of see the experience from Cloud9 kicking in a little there. They take a very smart pick. They've already been controlling this side of the map and then instantly convert into a Baron without having to burn too much. TL have played really scrappy in a lot of these situations, and it has worked out as a result. But Cloud9, they're just a bit more refined. They've loved to play the map and really bring the team together and not lean on their individual skill to get them ahead. Sure, they can win games just by brute forcing down a team, but so many of their games this season has been about the cohesion they've built that started in last summer.
Here comes the fight, though.
Lolo going to try and jump back in. Piglet already exhausted on the side. Team Liquid might just go all the way through. Lolo tanking so much damage. His impact. He's going to take out Rainover on the front end. 1-for-1 so far as Jensen. He's going to try and play clean. There's a second though as Matt falls down. Double Lift does channel the spell shield, but has to keep kiting around. Jensen and Piglet going for battle 1v1 again, but Jensen gets himself out with an ult charge. Piglet low. Double Lift gets out with a blast cone, and C9 do win the fight, 2-for-1.
And that was actually looking really good for Team Liquid as Lorlo was in the middle of the fight and then got wild growth from looting. But they kind of used all of their defensive tools on the initiation and didn't get enough, which opened them up to C9 flanking them from the backside. Impact, despite dying early, has had a great game as far as being the tank force that's really turning these fights around. It's going to allow C9 to keep this push down on the bot side.
Yeah, turret going to go down. That's 6-3 now. The Baron buff still up for a minute 30 or so by Cloud9. Looks like they're going to recall now, see if they can't knock some more turrets down, but again, C9 is happy to force the issue here.
Yeah, and this is the exact reverse of what C9 did to Team Liquid, but in this sense, Team Liquid didn't get the instant kill. Contracts getting saved by that redemption was huge as far as their inability to continue that chase through. And then when Impact can finish off Rengar, as well as completely easily zone out Double Lift, as Jhin is not a great tank killer, made it turn around even more for C9.
And we've seen it, or kind of said it in the draft, but Team Liquid's composition is very straightforward. They're kind of happy to run front to back in a lot of cases. And if they get isolated in some like 2v2s or skirmishes, they can probably win those as well. But TL kind of have one plan, and they're trying to bring it to C9 every team fight. I think Jensen's mobility has really been hurting him. Impact's positioning has been great, don't get me wrong, but they have two very slippery carries between Ari and Ezreal, and C9 are able to play longer fights and kind of win even when Team Liquid get the jump.
Yeah, and C9, aside from Impact, don't really have anyone who initiates. So the fact that they have the slippery carries, they're playing that poke-based gameplay, they're trying to push down multiple lanes, trying to put themselves in map pressure situations where Team Liquid will then have to kind of run into them. And it's not like Team Liquid has any options about this. If they want to fight, they have to go at them, and it's been on Sneaky and Jensen, as you mentioned, being as slippery as possible.
Well, another Infernal Drake's up in 10 seconds, but not confident in Team Liquid's ability to get out to try and take this one. Cloud9 are already there, pushing waves in, so Liquid will have to answer a lot of that side wave pressure. Although they are mid lane trying to force something again. Sneaky going to roam back up with contracts as Team Liquid making sure they stick together.
Yeah, still a very close game. And that Drake still being on the table. This one would look like it's going over to C9 unless Team Liquid wants to make a very risky and difficult initiation as they have. They do have a flank ward potentially for Lorlo, but that would also make their initiation all squishy. So for now, C9 is just going to poke him off as Contracts goes and takes the Drake by himself. This is the smart play.
Yep, Team Liquid, again, just trying something in the mid lane, but go off to the left-hand side instead. Not confident vision-wise where Cloud9 are. And again, it's hard to start a straight-up team fight. We don't know where they are. Dragon does go over to Cloud9 as a result, and Team Liquid is going to have to back away. They'll have to deal with bottom wave as well pretty soon. So Cloud9 happy to take the inside track and do damage here. A little bit of a misstep there for TL. Definitely out of position in this play.
Yeah, Impact just going wherever he wants because he knows where they're recalling from. Easy jump on this bottom lane inhibitor, but a teleport coming in from behind. Team Liquid going to try and make a stand.
Long range attempts here from Lolo. No snare there from the Gen W. Rainover looking for it as well. Lolo already popped the ulti, but a good kick out there from the Poppy. Lolo goes back in. Redemption is down. Going to try and heal the rest of Cloud9, but Contract already goes down. Jensen off to the side. He's going to get the damage down as Sneaky takes out Lolo. Now 4v4 as C9. We're going to try and close it out. Matt just goes down in an instant as Sneaky gets the double. And Cloud9 going to leap forward. Piglet now caught out. Going to try and fight his way up, but forced to burn the flash. And Cloud9 going to get the inhib out of the deal.
And this is kind of how Cloud9 has differentiated themselves from the rest of the LCS. Their ability to play team fights in the mid and late game, as well as work in even games or with small deficits, has been consistently good. Looking at this initiation in particular, I have to question Matt's early use of wild growth in all of these fights because it's just getting turned around and they no longer have the defensive capabilities, whereas they're not really gaining offensive uses out of this thing. So check this out one more time. Cloud9's goal in these fights is to disengage the main initiation and then kind of counteract with the multiple range champions they have. They throw Lorlo back, he goes for the re-engage, and then watch this, they wild growth up onto Lorlo, who you could argue it's defensive use because he was dying anyway, but when they really need it is at the back end of the fight as a disengage for C9's re-engage, and Sneaky was pretty much untouched in that entire exchange. As long as Team Liquid is diving in and only killing one, there's too many threats left on C9 that are turning these fights around.
Yeah, and again, despite the 2 Infernal Decks, Cloud9 happy to get one for themselves and then overtake the fight with their carries. As Jensen got himself a newish looking blue buff. And Cloud9 can have plenty of pressure with the supers in the bottom side. Sneaky going to get things started in the top lane, and Baron is back up in 40 seconds. So Cloud9 in a strong position here to look to end the game. Team Liquid going to have to play defensively at least while that inhibitor's down.
Yeah, still not in a terrible situation because of the true Infernal Drakes that can help them scale into the late game. But Doublelift definitely hasn't taken over the game. Piglet with his 4 kills early has been very ineffective in a lot of these team fights. Doesn't seem like he can get through the Poppy to really deal damage where he wants to. And Impact is in on a Doublelift.
Great play from Impact. Gets the special shield down with the Wild Growth burnt. Piglet gets himself out, but now Matt's vulnerable on the front line. Smoothie able to snare him down as Contracts destroys Lulu. And Piglet's going to try and kite, but Impact just too tanky. Now back in onto Doublelift. Might even take him out 1v2, diving the turret, but Jensen is there to finish the job. There's the kill on the Doublelift. Sneaky dodges the assassination attempt from Rainover. And now they're just onto the base, and TL's zoned out of their own inhibitor.
TL pretty much just going for minions because they're going to try and stop C9 from ending the game right here, but it is ever more in C9's favor as Lorlo was hoping to try and sneak in for these super minions. 20 seconds left on Double, 35 on Piglet. This could be the game.
Yeah, we're going to ride 2 supers in and look to take down these Nexus turrets. Death time is along. There's the teleport in from Impact, so Cloud9 going to use it all. Rainover just dies, gets charmed by Jensen, and that's it. Lolo flashes out to safety, but Contracts chases him down. Matt, he's back in, but I don't think he can save too much here. It does whimsy onto Impact, but not a great target. And there's the Nexus exposed. Contracts just going to play cleanup. Matt gets exploded on the other end of the fight, and the Nexus goes down as Cloud9 pick up game number 1.
And it definitely did not start clean, but it definitely ended in a controlled fashion for C9 as they withstood the barrage from Doublelift's debut, Piglet's kill in the mid lane, and even Rainover's great start on a very aggressively built Rengar. But it was all for nothing for Team Liquid. C9 was still able to do what they do and close out the game in the mid and lane.
And I think all things considered, if we were going to predict how game 1 was going to go, that's a pretty reasonable assessment of what happened this game. Some surprising kills early, Doublelift still looking good mechanically, Team Liquid trying to use their strengths and make some things happen, but at the end of the day, Cloud9, more experience, more refined, and just a lot better in team fights.
Yeah, and one interesting thing in this is Piglet's rise, to me, didn't look like he was doing that much in team fights. He had that early lead, he was making some good roam plays on the map, but then after that, he was just not able to get through Poppy in any way, shape, or form, and then if he did get in on the back line, he wasn't having enough oomph to actually get the kill down. So a lot of issues, kind of as we'd expect with Team Liquid, who had a day and a half of practice, were exploited there by C9, who's been a much more solid team, who's been together for the whole split, and is in first place for a reason.
Yep, certainly good wrap up there from Jat. But to give us a deeper dive on that Cloud9 win, let's hand it over to our analysts.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Not the easiest victory for Cloud9 here. Hey, I mean, Kobe, we talked about at the very beginning of the day what to expect or what kind of scenarios we might see play out with all these roster changes. I tell you one thing we did not expect: every lane for C9 dying pre-4 minutes. Yes. 3 kills coming across for Team Liquid that early on definitely set them off on the right foot.
Within like 15 seconds of each other, Jensen walks into Piglet. Piglet does kill him as the flash heal rise. Top lane, Reignover gets a good gank off onto Impact, who is not respecting the Renekton at all either. And then bottom lane, they go for this aggressive, Matt flashes in, he's got the Ignite on him. And then Doublelift is going to be able to finish it off with his Deadly Flourish here. See, Matt's going to go for the flash. He at least got the help picks on him, even if the Glance didn't land, and that got him low enough for the Deadly Flourish.
There you go, yeah. I mean, the fight started with Deadly Flourish, so it waited for that cooldown to come all the way back up before securing the kill.
And the thing with almost all those were partially helped by C9 with some mistakes there, but definitely deserved, like the accuracy with the Deadly Flourishes and the capitalization that all of the members of Team Liquid had on those plays. Looked great for the early game.
Right, but ultimately, the game didn't fall in their favor. So before we get to the fight that kind of determined it, or rather won it for C9, let's talk about some of, both the good and the bad for Team Liquid moving through the game. We did see that with a bit of a lead, they felt comfortable making aggressive moves. For example, a turret dive bottom and trying to grab control of the Dragon River, but still finding some mistakes and errors within that macro play. Yeah,
I mean, the one you're referring to where Team Liquid have 5 members on the bottom side of the map, they're the ones with so much control in this game. And Lorlo on the top side actually even had teleport advantage, but they decided to do this Dragon first, which is Infernal, but in that case you give up the first turret bonus gold where you probably could have done, turret first or delayed a little bit better. I mean, there are definitely things to clean up. They knew they had the lead and they wanted to do something with it. So it definitely is kind of a case of, we have another shot caller on a team. Maybe there was more.
And if there was any part of the game that we were really going to look at Team Liquid to win, it would be maybe in the early game when they're a little bit more split up, right? You've got lanes playing just the duo bot or just the 1v1 in the mid lane, as opposed to, hey, when we're grouped up as 5, that's where we really start to see C9 show themselves as the #1 team.
Yeah, even if you take into the comp into consideration, a little bit more early focus there with the picks from Team Liquid as well. But yeah, I like your point there. Cloud9, this is what we expect. They actually have not had a lot of clean early games for most of the season.
Right, exactly. And you're looking for them to pull together through the mid game, and it was at that 27-minute mark that we have just a 2-for-0 for Cloud9 that then turns into a Baron, and with that Baron buff, full control.
Exactly. This is a 2-for-0 where it's a vision granted 2-for-0 pick, right? They set it up. They have Fog of War advantage. They're camping in there. They have Ari, perfect pick champion. A lot of these champions on this Cloud9 roster that they draft for kiting back kiting the Renekton and kiting the Rengar also work pretty well with picks there. And they get this bush pick, immediately objective, boom, they get a bunch off that Baron, big Baron power play as well. And then the team fighting coordination is huge for them. And in that team fighting coordination, I just want to give a shout out to Smoothie, because Smoothie's Karma, his redemptions were almost all 6-7 man redemptions, counting enemies with the true damage in there. It was really good kiting there.
Well, and when you talk about the fact that play there was set up off of Vision, the majority of the Vision play, coming from Smoothie and or contracts. And so just the fact that the pick was made available to them is a lot in part to his play and how he is clearing out the Vision. Player of the game, though, going to Impact this time around. Ultimately, some really solid team fights, playing that single front line for the AD carries to roll through the rest of the team.
He definitely was a massive force in this. Whether he was coming in flanks, cleaning people up in the team fights, soaking up on the front line, enabling the secondary re-engages for the team, it was definitely Impact once again earning a player of the game. I think he's one of the top player of the game earners in the entire league right now, and just going to add another one.
All right, gut check though. Team Liquid's first game here with Doublelift into the lineup. How did you feel about it? I mean, it got off to a good start.
I know, it got off to a good start. I'm excited for this team. I think that this team will be able to take down other North American LCS teams.
Right.
Maybe not the #1 or TSM either, but definitely I think that they made a good change, promising change, and I think they'll be able to build on this success. This was like one day of practice, they said.
It's at least a little bit of a statement to come out and you know, in a sense, smack the C9 lanes. You did mention that there were some mistakes.
Smack them around a little bit. All right.
Well, you know, it's like, hey, we're not going to roll over,
yeah.
okay? Maybe the coordination and team play isn't there for us to close it out, but we're showing that we're going to be at least a formidable opponent for bottom half teams in the North American LCS. You know, Doublelift, of course, probably getting used to being back on stage. We did see the execute, but he looked like he was having fun up there, and I think that's a big thing, is being able to smile about that, probably not feeling too much pressure as the veteran.
As he said, you know, he's coming in for some playtime on the 10th place team. He's like, I don't have anything to lose. You know, I can dye a red buff on screen with everybody watching. No sweat.
Yeah, and as if we didn't have enough switch-ups already, Ray is actually going to be subbing in for Cloud9 in Game 2. Just got word of that. Of course, we've seen that happen before, so we'll see if they find success. They always have a Game 3 to fall back on if it doesn't work. We're going to step away for a quick break. When we come back, we'll see if Team Liquid can bring this series to Game